10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And live, the Competition Plus Power Hour. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer, and over there, Darren Williams, Jr., American Hot Rod Entertainment. I'm coming from an undisclosed location in the state of Tennessee, and he's in his SoCal home.
Yo, we are starting off the year right, aren't we? You got the little thing right, pointing to me. So we're starting that off right. And how about this? Talk about our guest tonight. You talk about a legend in the world of drag racing. We usually always have like a lot of big time drivers. This is like a big time crew chief, innovator, engineer, like Mr. Lee Beard. This is exciting. And Lee, you already know one of my favorite championship battles of all time in NHRA history is Ormsby and Amato, 89 and 90. So I'm excited for this interview here tonight.
You did a great video on that championship battle, those seasons going back and forth, and what a great time in NHRA drag racing it certainly was. And we're going to be able to glean from him and his career many of those great stories, but he's an individual that isn't done out there in the drag racing world. We've got him on tonight to talk about what is happening right now as far as the state of drag racing, because he's out there, but also what is being worked upon to help, assist, make drag racing a little different in the internal area, if you will.
Yeah, man, Lee Beard, he's still out here. And like we all know, and like I said, a big time innovator, engineer in the world of drag racing. So like I said, happy to have him on. But, as we do talk about that, also, there's some teams out there that are trimming the landscape in the world of drag racing as well. Big time announcement made last weekend involving a big time team. We're going to talk about that after we talk to Lee Beard. So a lot to talk about here tonight on the Competition Plus Power Hour. First show of the year, man.
Trimming the landscape. Where did you get that?
I totally stole that from you.
You did. Just like
I totally
stole
that from you.
I
totally stole that from you.
Folks, I want you to know that the email
weird
that Darren Williams Jr. sends for StreamYard, that is to all of his other shows, it is a blatant copy of the email that I originated and crafted, and it's used beyond also in the world of drag racing. It can't get no credit though. I need to buy Lee Kraft this email.
That's why you don't tell people, stuff beforehand. You keep it to yourself. You don't tell everybody everything because they want to steal it. We've even seen that in drag racing. You show up with a certain combination or something. Everybody wants to steal a playoff. Same thing
I'm
here.
sure Lee Beard can tell us about the monkey see, monkey do scenario that's out there in drag racing.
But what do they say though? Real quick, what do they say though? Imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
Yes, but there's also more to that quote. I found out something about mediocrity. I got to look that up. Yes,
look that up. Yeah, that's interesting.
I got to make sure on that. It's just like the a jack of all trades, a master of none. I'd rather be a master of one or something like that. Yeah, there's more to it. There's usually more to everything. So I think we need to get Mr. Beard on. We'll chat with him, see what is cooking there, and then we'll do some cooking on the back burner after our time with Lee Beard. How about that, Darren?
Let's do it.
Are you going to commercial, or am I taking this commercial?
I thought you were doing it, but I could do it.
Okay, hang on.
We still got to get that right. It's New Year, but we still got to get that right. So
we got to get that right. Yeah,
we got to get that.
I'm mobile again. Like you're actually at your studio.
You should have told me. You should have told me that. I didn't know that.
Okay. Brought to you by Weldon Pumps Competition Plus Power Hour. They're pumping the show up. Lee Beard next. Mr. Lee Beard. He really needs no introduction, but here you are on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in regularly, and we are so glad to have you on the show finally.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I have a great deal of respect for both of you guys. You're fantastic ambassadors for the sport. I live up here in the Breckenridge, Colorado area, and I get pretty excited on Tuesday nights to watch the Power Hour, let me tell you.
Well, Lee, man, like I said, I'm sure you heard that intro right there. Really happy to have you here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Before we get into everything, your career and what you're doing right now for the sport of drag racing, just talk about, what you've been up to. How was your holidays, your Christmas, New Year's, everything like that?
Well, when I retired from being a full-time crew chief in the NHRA, I moved here to Colorado, up here in the Breckenridge area. And I spend the majority of my time fly fishing, or I'm skiing. I actually skied today, and I'm going to ski tomorrow in Beaver Creek. So I am having an absolute fantastic retirement. I still stay involved with the sport. I do consulting work for a materials company right now that we'll talk about here in a little bit, some really exciting stuff. But man, I'm enjoying my life. And I'll be honest with you, I really owe this lifestyle that I'm living now and everything that I'm doing to NHRA drag racing. It's where I made my living, my career. Everything that I have in life is because of NHRA drag racing, and really the NHRA, the platform that they gave us to race on, the superb facilities, the great television packages over the years. My entire life has been in that sport, and I could not thank the NHRA, the race team owners that I worked for, and everybody that I competed against. It was just a fantastic life, and I'm enjoying the twilight of my life now.
Well, that is great to hear that you are enjoying it, and what a beautiful place in the country to be enjoying it. I've spent time in Colorado, and I know that I would love to spend some time in like Montana and Wyoming more than what I've had. So it's just a beautiful part of the country over there. Why fly fishing? What about it? From a nitro tuner, someone used to being around 300 miles per hour plus and all that fumes, adrenaline, vibrations.
Well, actually, I fly fished whenever I had an opportunity to throughout my career. It was my way of de-stressing. You're out there, amongst nature, the water of the noise that the river makes, and it just allows you to totally relax and focus and enjoy nature. So I didn't get to do it enough during my career because I dedicated my life to being successful in drag racing. But once I stepped away as a full-time guy there, I've really learned to enjoy it and have managed to get a little bit better at it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so obviously, devoted your life to NHRA drag racing, has had so much success in this sport. And obviously, aside from the crew chiefing role, like I said, well, all crew chiefs are engineers and everything like that, but you have a very big engineering background and stuff like that. And you're a spokesperson and on board with AWA Composites, correct? Just kind of fill us in on what that is and kind of, what's involved with that and how much fun you're having, working with that and everything like that.
Well, I've been involved with the AWA Forged Composites now for about 6 years. And I'm their lead engineer, a guy named Brian Gill, reached out to me and said, "Listen, we're aerospace engineers. We have a material and some design processes and patents and everything, and we'd like to get involved in automobile racing. We think that this material and the products that could be made out of it will really kind of take the sport to the next level." So I have been a spokesperson for them and a consultant to them. And it's finally all coming together. They have a product line out there that's available right now. The material is extremely lightweight and very strong. It's hard to imagine that, but it's no different than other materials that have come along in the sport. I don't know if you guys know it, but I was the very first guy to run carbon fiber rear and front wings. And when I showed up at the racetrack with the very first carbon fiber wing, there were a lot of naysayers. A lot of people didn't want it. They lobbied with NHRA to outlaw it because they just didn't understand the technology and the strengths of that super lightweight material. After we ran it and it proved itself to be better than the conventional wings that were constructed out of aluminum. It lasted longer. Within a few years, everybody had carbon fiber wings. And then that material began to show up in all over the race car, and then all in all of the classes. But it was met with some resistance, you know.
With this endeavor with AWA and what you're doing, I mean, sure, I love hearing about innovation, that people are thinking forward and that the sport can be helped and moved forward. But we are in a day and time where it seems like the NHRA has figured out that we are at a good point where they can cap certain areas and bring the competition closer as it has. Like, we're not developing new heads and things of that nature. What is it really going to take for there to be a fundamental shift from the alloys of aluminum that we have currently to something that is composite?
Well, again, you have to understand the material and its characteristics. It's lighter than aluminum. It's stronger than aluminum. It's stiffer than steel. It has a fantastic fatigue life. The components that are made out of these forged composites, I'll just kind of give you a little cost breakdown on it, okay? So if you have a part that costs $100 and it's made out of, let's say, aluminum, and you only get 10 runs out of it and you have to replace it, your cost breakdown is $10 per run. Now, if you have this same part made out of this forged composite and it costs 3 times as much, it costs $300. Well, everybody throws up their arms and say, well, gee, we don't need that. It's really expensive. We don't have to have that. But instead of lasting 10 runs, it lasts 50 runs. So now your cost per run is only $6 per run versus the $10 per run for the aluminum part that costs, 3 times less. So you have to look at this material, this process, these components from all directions.
No, certainly. And, obviously, kind of switching gears a little bit, you've been around this sport for such a long time. And, everybody says, oh, the 80s was the glory days of drag racing, or the 90s was the glory days of drag racing. But we talked off air just before the show started. You're even liking the way the sport is going right now, with, the new teams that are coming in, this pro race that's coming up. Just give us your thoughts on the state of drag racing as it is right now, the current days of drag racing.
I think drag racing is really going to break out and really grow here in the next several years. I think the NHRA has done a fantastic job with their television package. They've done a fantastic job with creating new stars, along with recognizing the greatest racer of all time, John Force. So you have this package today of these legends, superstars, John Force, Doug Coletta, and then you have this young group of rising superstars, and that makes the sport exciting. You've got some, certainly having Tony Stewart, the NASCAR legend and champion, come into the sport and field a 2-car team and win the championship with Matt Hagan. That brought a lot of attention to the sport, and I think it's going to, attract other, let's say, very successful team owners. So I firmly believe that right now, could be, we could be on the doorsteps of the greatest time in drag racing ever.
I concur. Myself, Darren, we oftentimes bring a far more positive outlook on drag racing right here on the Power Hour and our other shows that we do as well. And in Darren's writing, and when I'm communicating on video, that the sport is in a good place and it's poised to springboard into a better place, and if not the best place that it's been. And I firmly believe that when the NHRA does well, all of drag racing, as diversified as it is, can and will do well. In particular, though, Lee, with a place that you're so familiar with in NHRA drag racing, crew chiefing. What is the state there? It feels like, and I've heard that there is a crew chief shortage, or we're in this day and time where so many people that individually can be a brain are locked into brain trusts on particular teams. And you've been a part of mentoring programs. We see it with Medlin, and people are getting shots like a Bunker and also a Lindbergh, and there's others out there. Is there really this shortage? Is it really that critical? Where are we in that area for the sport?
Well, obviously you have your, what I want to say, your blue chip crew chiefs, and that's, the guys like Jimmy Prock and Brian Karate, Dickie Venables, Mike Green. You have a certain group that they've been out there racing for a long, long time, and they know the sport like the back of their hand. They're able to adjust their combinations to that racetrack on that particular day at that particular time, and they're very skilled and experienced. Now, there are a lot of up and coming guys that have worked in as let's say a car chief or an assistant crew chief role that will eventually replace those blue chip crew chiefs. So the sport is, what I want to say, fluid. We see there'll be a breakout up and coming crew chief that will shine, and there'll be a breakout up and coming driver, and there'll be new team owners, and there'll be new corporations. The sport is very fluid.
And I know, like, in NASCAR, you go back to, back in the day, a lot of the crew chiefs were more so just car guys who could work on cars. They knew the whole way around a car. And then as, we get into the, in today's day and age of NASCAR, it's more of the engineers. They're the ones getting the crew chief jobs and stuff like that. Have you seen any change within the NHRA of the route taken to becoming a crew chief in the NHRA? Or is it pretty much the same as it was back then?
Well, certainly the sport has changed as far as engineering goes, and what the crew chief's necessities are today. He has to be extremely computer literate. There's a lot of software that's used for, let's say, the predictability of the engine tune-up. There are, massive data acquisition components on the car to look at everything as it's running down the racetrack. So the days of the crew chief, and I raced during that time before we had onboard computers and data loggers and stuff, and having just kind of a seat of the pants feel, and you had to touch and look at and examine all of the parts. It's changed. So today, if you get somebody that's, highly educated, they understand materials, they understand computer programs, they understand predicting the weather, all of these things that come into it. What I'm saying is that it certainly requires a much higher level of intelligence today than it did a long time ago.
And Lee, that's why I never, ever bash a crew chief ever, because they can do whatever, like a million times better than what I can even think of. So like, I can't even imagine just, because with everything they have to go through, the knowledge they have to have. It's amazing. I don't think they get enough credit for how just intelligent they are. It's cool.
It's I have a great deal of respect for each and every guy out there on the cars. I was so fortunate that during my career, I got to race against some of, at the time, were the best in the business. And those were guys like Dale Armstrong and Dick LaHaye and Ken Venny and Don Garlitz, and Austin Coyle. There was this group of guys that were just super intelligent for that time period, that were able to extract the most performance out of the race cars. And it was a challenge to compete against them. I was fortunate that the majority of my success came racing against those guys. So, but talking about the engineer and especially this new AWA Forged Composite program, the engineer there, Brian Gill, is extremely smart. And this product, once you understand it and realize how good it is and how good it can be, I think you're going to see it come into the sport and start replacing a lot of the components out there that have a short cycle life. They're heavy. In the valve train, you have to run massive amounts of spring pressure to control the heavy push rods, the heavy rocker arms, the heavy retainers, everything that's out there. And this material, if it's used properly, can fix a lot of the problems and actually make the life of the engine and the life of the engine components much longer.
Well, I think that's all positives, and I know it may take a while, but positives in that area for drag racing, especially the nitro ranks, are definitely needed and warranted. With this company, why do they want to be involved in motorsports? From what I understand, they got a background in the aeronautics world. Why look at motorsports at all? Why is that an endeavor? Usually someone's passionate about it. Is that the case, or do they see it as a good business venture?
They see it as a good business venture, but more than anything, they see it as the proper place for the material to be utilized. Okay, so let's look at one thing here, and that is let's talk about the wrist pin. Now, the NHRA rulebook says that the engine components can only be made out of steel, titanium, or aluminum. So you can't have a composite wrist pin. But what you can do is you can have a thin steel shell of a wrist pin that would fail on its own. But now when you fill the inside of that shell with the composite material, it becomes stiffer and stronger than the steel wrist pins that are currently being used. It will benefit you in so many areas. The steel wrist pins that are being used today have some flex to them. So what they tend to do is they tend to waller out the pin bores in the pistons. So your pistons get thrown away because the pin bores are no longer on size. The same way with the connecting rod. The steel wrist pins flex and they waller out the little end of the connecting rod. And so a lot of times you're throwing away connecting rods because the wrist pin's flexing. So by having this hybrid wrist pin that is a steel wrist pin, the outside of it is steel, but the inside of it is the forged composite material, it is stiffer. It does not flex, and it will last much longer in time, let alone the real benefit is the weight. It's going to be, 50 to 70% lighter than a steel wrist pin. So the reciprocating weight that goes up and down will be lighter. And so those components will not have to absorb that weight changing directions. The other thing is, since it's lighter, you can rebalance the crankshaft to a lighter bob weight. So now you not only have lighter reciprocating weight, you have lighter rotating weight. And those benefits all will help the engine live longer and perform better. So I'm extremely positive and excited about this material. I hope everybody has an open mind about it and takes a less accepted attitude like they did with the carbon fiber wing that they all thought was going to fail.
It is amazing in motorsports, and maybe not even just motorsports. I think it is a human issue, honestly. But nonetheless, in motorsports, you've got to be that person to step out and run with it. Most time, win with it, and then everybody will follow through in seeing how much of an advantage it actually was. Mm-hmm.
If I was an active crew chief in the NHRA right now, whether it be in Top Fuel Funny Car or all the way down to Super Comp, I would be all over this material, process, and products. Because once you understand how strong it is and how long it will live and how light it is, it's exactly what you look for. I remember when titanium bolts first showed up on the scene, and you picked it up and you were like, whoa, this can't be strong. This is going to fail. And then we put it in a vise and hit it with a hammer, and hell, it was like, whoa, it hardly bends, if it doesn't bend at all. And you look around on the race cars today, and they pretty much all have titanium bolts. You don't really see a lot of steel bolts anymore out there. So it's understanding the product and knowing how to use it properly, which will make some substantial changes to the sport.
Friend of the show, Sammy Eubanks, he has a question, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you everybody who's tuning in here tonight. I mean, this is pretty awesome. First show of the year. He says, going back on what you're talking about before, he says, will the motor rev up faster? Maybe too fast? Sammy Eubanks question.
It certainly changes the dynamics of the engine. When you have lighter valve train components and you have lighter rotating and reciprocating weight, the engine accelerates faster. So driver reaction time's better. How the peak RPM that the engine goes to is better. There's so many benefits from it if it's used properly.
All right, Lee. I want to go back to where Darren was a few moments ago concerning crew chiefs and how they can get there and what do they need to get there. And I want to ask very specifically, what does the modern crew chief at the highest levels of the NHRA need today, demeanor, personality, character-wise? What do you think that is?
Well, I think you have to put your ego aside and realize that it's truly a team sport. So first and foremost, you have to have the absolute best group of technicians servicing that race car. Because no matter how good you are at tuning it for the conditions, it still requires a pretty large group of human beings to properly maintenance that thing. So one of the keys of a modern crew chief is surrounding himself with the absolute best people that are available to you. The other thing is that you have to be open-minded to new technology. You may have a combination that today is outrunning everybody, but in this sport, it's just a matter of time and they will catch up with you. And if you sit on that combination, they will surpass you. So you have to understand that you always have to be looking for a better and more sophisticated combination to remain competitive.
No, for sure. For sure. You hear teams all the time saying, I mean, Steve Torrence is the main guy. He was saying, hey, we won 4 consecutive championships in a row, won all these races, but hey, we want to stay ahead of the competition. We don't want the competition. We feel like they've caught up to us. So we're going to try something different. And they've had maybe I wouldn't say lean years, but obviously we've seen them kind of, not be at the top of their game like they have been when they won 4 in a row. So, Richard Hogan.
I think David Grubnick was a prime example of that this season. He had, the past several years, man, he has been the toughest guy in Top Fuel out there. When the conditions were right, everybody came to the fence to watch David Grubnick's car run. And you knew he was going to put a big number and a big speed up there on the scoreboard. I believe this year he was trying actually to search for something better. And in his attempt to find something better, he actually went a little bit backwards. But that's the nature of technology and development. Sometimes it takes you a while to get that new stuff all in sync and harmony to run properly. And while you're searching for that, you actually go backwards a little bit. So I'll tell you what, it's a real mind-boggling sport.
So, in saying that, then I just want to get your opinion. Obviously, David Grubnick, a very aggressive crew chief, and obviously bring on John Collins, who I would say is a little more, conservative. I wouldn't say too conservative, but, just having those two mindsets now kind of teaming up on Brittany's Monster Energy Flavor Pack Top Fuel Dragster for 2024.
Well, I think that'll be an excellent combination. I had the pleasure of doing some consulting work with John Collins, and I have a great deal of respect for him. He's very brilliant, but he does not like to change things. When he finds something that works, boy, he puts a lock on it and doesn't want to change it. And maybe that's what David Grubnick needs. So that combination of those two could really be a feather in the hat for that Brittany Force team.
Well, Lee, as we are winding down our time with you, we do want to step into the time machine, if you will, and talk about some points of your career. You've been around drag racing for a long time now and been a part of many great moments. And I just want to start out with this. Oftentimes, when men are competitive, it can either build an individual up and cause them to go to the higher elements in competition, or it can drain them. What championship battle was one that moved you forward in your career, and what was a championship battle that at the end of it, it drained you?
Well, obviously the 1989 championship with Gary Ormsby was probably, a big star for me. I had went there when Gary Ormsby was just a, kind of a hobby racer that had raced in Top Fuel and had never won an NHRA national event. He was becoming a successful businessman and had the financing. So I went in there and I built the team from scratch, hired the right people, worked really, really hard. We were very fortunate. We won the very first race that we went to. A lot of people don't know that, but it was the very first outing we went to was the Popular Hot Rodding Championships in Martin, Michigan, which was the biggest independent drag racing away from the NHRA national events. And we won that race. And everybody started to look at us then. And then, we win our first NHRA national event, and then we set our sights on winning the championship. And I had to figure out a lot of things, how to win a championship. I knew how to win national events, but I didn't know how to win a championship. And I realized it took the right people. And so I surrounded myself with really good people back then. I had guys like Mike Green. I hired him. I hired Dickie Venables. I had a lot of fantastic crew guys around me, and that's really what made my success in that 1989 season. Probably one of the toughest things for me was racing with Whit Bazemore and that particular team, because we certainly had all of the elements to win a championship. And the 4 seasons that I raced with him, we had 3 second place finishes. And when you finish second, it's kind of, I want to say it's a humiliating winter, because you always look at it and you say what could have been, what should have been, but it didn't happen. So finishing second is a bit humiliating. Even though, you outfinished a lot of guys, it's still a bit humiliating.
So Lee, I have never heard one person say one bad thing about Gary Ormsby. All the stories I've heard was that he was one of the nicest guys, one of the coolest guys, always took the time out to talk to you and everything like that. So if you're comfortable going here, it's totally up to you. But first question, before the final round, they asked you, you basically said, it means the world to me to win this world championship. Like, you wanted to win that world championship in 1990. So when that red light came onto your lane in 1990, when Ormsby turned on the red light, and then second, just like, what was your feelings and stuff like that? Just the heartbreak and everything. But also, when did you find out that Ormsby actually had cancer? Because
I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know at that time that he actually had cancer then. Mm-hmm. And he went through some treatments over the winter and really kept that from the entire team. That losing that, first of all, think of this, the whole championship gets down to the final round of the final race. So there was a tremendous amount of pressure on me. There was a tremendous amount of pressure on Tim Richards, Joe Amato, Gary Ormsby, the entire teams. It was like, who's going to make the mistake? Well, yeah, we made the mistake and ended up second there. So, but talking about Gary Ormsby, prince of a man. I'll always cherish those years that I got to work for him. But he wasn't the only prince of a man and great guy. I worked for a lot of different team owners, and there were some extremely good guys. David Powers was another guy that I cherish every minute that I worked for him. I cherish the drivers. I was fortunate enough to win with 14 different drivers on NHRA national events. And 6 of those drivers, it was their very first NHRA national event win. So I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed my career and the success I had and the people that I competed against. It was, it's been a fantastic life, really.
When Lee Beard is inducted into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame or International Motorsports Hall of Fame or whatever Hall of Fame you want to choose, wherever you're going to be somewhere. What's at the top of the list for Lee Beard on your career that you want to be remembered for?
Well, I've been inducted into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and I've been inducted.
Well, I'm glad they already got someone in that was alive. Good.
I've been inducted into that, and I'm in the Colorado Motorsports Hall of Fame and the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. And, I'll be honest with you. What I cherish the most about my entire career, it's not about, winning Indy 4 times and it's not about winning championships and it's not about winning races and that. It's the people that I got to meet along the way. That's what I cherish the most, and that's what I remember the most. I can't remember all of the races that I won. I can't remember what it was like standing in the winner's circle, but I can certainly remember shaking those spectators' hands and meeting that one special guy that I'm still friends with today. I have so many friends. I can go any place in the United States, and I usually run into somebody that I know that knows me from racing. That's what was special about the sport.
How much McDonald's did you eat in the 90s? I'm sure it was a lot.
Well, you know what? I cherish my job running the McDonald's team for both Larry Minor, winning the both top fuel and funny car at the U.S. Nationals with the McDonald's cars is something that I'll always cherish. And I was proud to be able to deliver that program to Larry Minor, build the Joe Gibbs team from scratch, which ended up with the McDonald's sponsorship. It was some great times, and I'm still friends. When I was inducted into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, sitting at my table was the former CEO of McDonald's, a guy named Ed Renzi. And so those relationships that were established with all of those different race teams still carry on today.
Well, awesome. Mr. Beard, we definitely hope we'll be able to continue this relationship and have you on the show again, and hopefully sooner than later, and continue to chat more on drag racing, where it was, where it is, and where it will be going. Thank you for your time tonight.
Well, thank you guys for having me on the show. And I'll be honest with you, if there was a team out there that was looking for a consultant, I would love to be out there working with some young up and coming crew chief and pass my experience and education on to him. I still have a passion for the sport, and I try to stay as involved as every way that I can, which includes watching the Power Hour every Tuesday night.
Thank you. We appreciate that, Lee, and have yourself a good rest of your evening out there in Colorado.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, I have the utmost respect for both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Well, hey, right there's the pitch. If you're looking for a consultant and in the NHRA drag racing world, call Lee Beard.
Not for sure. But Lee, I'm kind of disappointed in you, man.
What?
Like the joke was right there for you. You didn't even take it. Lee's beard, Lee Beard, it was right there.
We stayed away from that one, didn't we?
We did. Buddy Hole mentioned in the comments though.
That's Buddy.
It's Buddy.
Buddy connects those dots. He's a great individual on dad jokes too.
Is he?
Yes.
I just hate, man, you talk about a guy who's done so much in the sport of drag racing, has been around since the early 80s, late 70s. And I mean, just to only get 30 minutes, it's like, man, you wish you can get like an hour and a half just to really pick apart his whole career, because he's done so much.
Has Bobby done a Legends with Lee Beard? Is it out there?
I don't think so. I don't.
It might need Bobby. If it's not out there, it might need to be one.
I mean, so.
Can you see it out there? Lee is fly fishing and talking about drag racing.
Man.
And a bear comes out of nowhere, and Bobby and Lee have got to run. No.
you think about it, man. Just Ormsby, McDonald's, Bernstein, Bazemore, David Powers, like you said. I mean, he just worked with, and there's plenty. I'm pretty sure there's others I'm missing right now, but just he's worked with some high-profile people in drag racing. Just the innovation. Just the records, the wins. I mean, it's the championships. It's pretty amazing.
And it's interesting that here he is, this veteran, the man with seniority in the sport, and doing something that he did when he didn't quite have that seniority and veteran status. And now leading the way, kind of help bringing in these composite materials. And he did bring in a composite material that is used everywhere now on Top Fuel dragsters and funny cars and pro stocks and so on and so on. So it is very cool to see him still leading the way out there and impacting drag racing in a good way.
I'm going to put everybody on the spot right now. Everybody in the comments, because we got like over 100 people watching. Drop in the comments top 5 greatest crew chiefs of all time. Just Nitro though, because I mean obviously you got pro stock and everything like that. Just Nitro.
Right. Just
top
Nitro.
Top 5 Nitro crew chiefs of all time. Drop in the comments.
But are we going to split it and say just funny car and Top Fuel? You might have to do that because there are some that didn't really cross over at all. I mean, did Austin Coyle ever have any direct touch on a Top Fuel dragster? Maybe not. True. I don't know.
Let's go. One for Top Fuel, one for funny car.
Okay.
Top 5.
Okay.
Top 5.
Okay.
That's actually too much though. That's too much because that's 10 basically. So
how about top 3?
Top 3, yeah, top 3. Let's do that.
Top 3 for funny car, for Top Fuel. I've had this discussion with Ryan Elliott, longtime car chief out there in the NHRA drag racing world. Recently, many years with Cruz Petragon. Before that, Don Schumacher Racing. Now he's over there with the Sean Reed operation. And it's a hard conversation to have. Top 5 of tuners. And also, it was a very interesting conversation with him because he's worked around some of these people and he's got some different opinions and seeing how they work and they operate. So, yes, it is certainly an interesting discussion. Well, we're going to continue the discussion right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. You hit that like button, you hit the share button. Myself, Lee Kraft, and Mr. Darren Williams Jr., we will be back right after this word from Peak, and we'll get into some peak moments afterwards.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it Peak. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant, our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
They coming in. I love it. They coming in.
Coyle, Alan Johnson, Jimmy Prock. Wow, that is a great list. Bob
that is a good list.
Lannon, John Medlin, Austin Coyle, Lee Beard. Lee Beard mentioned in who we just had on the show. Hey, speaking of Ryan Elliott and that conversation that I had with him, which was in Florida somewhere, and we already had a couple of drinks in us, and it was an interesting conversation at this very interesting bungalow type bar. Ryan, what was the name of that place? I don't even remember. Where did you take me, man? AJ, Coyle, LaHaye, Tobler, on Armstrong. Hey, he's keeping true to his list. That is like the same list when it was down there in Florida 2 years ago.
I like it. I mean, it's
Baker Jr. Funny car.
If you have a list and Coyle, Armstrong, and Alan Johnson aren't in it, I mean, come on. I mean, those are givens.
You don't even know. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Those are givens,
Yeah, you don't even know what you're talking about.
But I'm loving the love for Dick LaHaye and Tim Richards, though. I'm loving the love for those guys, too. And what about Leonard Hughes in there? I like that. I like it. Maynard Yankston there. Okay. Oh, Bruce Larson, Maynard Yanks. I like it. Ken Vinny, of course. Yeah. Big with cylinder heads. Ken Vinny. I like it. Okay. Jimmy Prock, Lee Beer, Ed Ace McCullough. I like it. I'm liking these lists.
It's good. It's good.
I know I'm liking them. I'm liking them.
All right.
I like them. Yeah, I like the Maynard. I like the Maynard Yanks one though. That's different. I like that.
Have not heard that name in a long time.
Yeah. I like it. Are we going to put ourselves out there or what? That's what I was saying.
Hey, you asked for the peanut gallery to chime in. I think we've still got plenty to talk about without even going to the top 5. I mean, the top 5 of this could be a full entire episode of why or why not. I know we were discussing well before the show started, even earlier this week, Doug Kalitta winning a championship. Does that throw him into the top 5 of top field drivers all time?
And the reason why I asked that is because, with drag racing, I don't think we have these discussions enough. I think while we are, we celebrate everybody's accomplishments, with other stick and ball sports, whether that's basketball or football, they're always having these lists and always debating these barbershop, type of discussions. I don't think we really actually have in the world of drag racing.
LeBron, Michael.
Yeah. Just to get those conversations flowing,
all these people, exactly, Montana, Brady, yes. Yeah. Everybody's talking about that. And I certainly do think it has to be wrapped in context. I don't think you can compare Johnny Unitas with Lamar Jackson. I think that's just very hard. Games are different, athletic-wise different, and time and effort put in and where they were and where society was. I think it can certainly be challenging. But I do think those discussions need to happen more often. Now, you definitely are the statistician. Where does Doug Kalitta, with now his first championship, when we look at wins, overall career, what do we look like?
So when I put Doug Kalitta top 5 right now, so what's the criteria? Is it all around wins, championships, driving ability? What is the criteria that we're going with? What is the criteria?
You definitely have to have driving ability in there.
Of course.
Championships matter.
Championships matter.
We remember championships. I think since we are talking about NHRA drag racing, U.S. national wins matter.
That's true.
As well. And I think that, and see, this is that argument, and it almost, you have this argument with Pro Stock. With Pro Stock, were they some like to distinguish, were they a driver or were they a racer? And were they involved in not only the holding of a wheel, but the mechanism to get the wheel going for you to hold it? When you think of Top Fuel, clearly you think of Don Garlits. But Don Garlits and Tony Schumacher, I would argue, are vastly two different entities within drag racing.
Exactly, yes.
Can you have them on the same list?
It's kind of the same debate as, hey, where does Wilt Chamberlain stand amongst the greatest of all time? Because, hey, he was 7'6", and he was going up against little short plumbers on a night-to-night basis. So it's like, where do you put Wilt Chamberlain on that list? So while it is hard to kind of, put this, Garlits and Schumacher in the same category, because, obviously Garlits was an innovator, a crew chief of his own. He was also a driver. He was the main one who really pushed the sport forward, obviously putting the engine behind the race car and a top fuel car. Whereas Tony Schumacher was pretty much just a driver all his career. But if I had to go top 5, and this is just an all around just top 5, just throwing the criteria out of there. And this is not an order. This is just my top 5. And top fuel, I got Schumacher, I got Garlits, I got Dixon, I have Amato. Oh man, number 5. Yeah. Oh, that's hard. That's hard. I got Schumacher, Garlits, Dixon, Amato. Come back to my number 5. Let me think about that a little more. I was put on the spot. Let me think of number 5. Ooh. Man. Give me a little time. Keep talking.
All right. Well, look, I agree with you.
I have a
Tony
lot
Schumacher.
of number 5, but it's like I want to make sure I get the right person.
Tony Schumacher has to be on that list.
Of course.
Don Garlits has to be on that list.
Of course.
Just absolutely has to be. And now you start getting to Amato. Though I agree, you begin to get into some debatable territory. Dixon, I like that. I like him.
Hold on. Why is Amato debatable though? 5 championships. For the longest, he was the winningest top fuel driver. For the longest.
I mean, that is true. That is true.
But I mean, with Amato, Tim Richards is also in that discussion with them because I mean, you need to talk about the tall wings. First to 260, 260, 280.
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised, though. You haven't named an individual that was the first multi-time period NHRA champion, and for most of her career was top fuel.
I know, and that's one of the people I was considering putting top 5, but there's just so many others, to put on that actual 5th.
That's true. I think top 5 surely has to be in there on my list.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I agree with Schumacher. I agree with Dixon. I agree with Garlits. Add Shirley on there for my 4th.
Oh, I'm curious. Why Dixon? Why are you sure about Dixon but not Amato? That's what I'm curious about. Just curious.
I feel like, I don't know why, but when I think about Amato, I feel like he had areas where he'd get one, but there wasn't quite this. I just feel like there wasn't quite this dominance like some of the other ones we're talking about. Okay,
that's fair.
Like people were coming in and out and ebbs and flows, and he was always number 2 or 1. It seemed like it was that scenario. There's a block with Dixon, nothing like nobody.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a block with Schumacher, nobody.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with Garlits, the innovate. I mean, Garlits can be on GOAT list. Mm-hmm. For all of drag racing, frankly. I mean, Garlits is up there in like top 10 of motorsportists. Period.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shirley is on that type of list too. And then I think certainly at the top when it comes to when you just want to narrow it down to females in motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
But that 5th.
look a comment. Sorry.
Right. 5th. The 5th one becomes hard. And look, let's go back. Let's go back to, we mentioned Doug Coletta. And I mean, man, first of all, how
driving ability top 5 for sure.
How good is it that we can say Doug Coletta, the 2023 Top Fuel Eliminator World Champion?
Mm-hmm. It's good.
It's good. Mm-hmm. Like we have been waiting for that. It is so good.
So Don Moore and Bob Landon say Kenny Bernstein. I put Kenny Bernstein more top 5 of Funny Car. Yes, he won 2 Top Fuel championships. Yes, and about half of his wins came in Funny Car and half of his wins came in Top Fuel. Yes, but I would put more so Kenny Bernstein more top 5 Funny Car for sure. Predominant Bernstein Funny Car. Oh, that's a non-given. It's a non-given.
Right.
It's not given.
Yeah.
I do believe Kenny Bernstein is top 10 all time Top Fuel, but I can't quite put him top 5. Just my opinion.
I can go with that.
That's my opinion. I mean, but first to 300, win Nitro championships in both Top Fuel and Funny Car. I mean, one of the greatest. I mean, you can't deny it.
For sure. Where are you at on your 5th?
You're gonna dig. The reason why I don't put a 5th because people are gonna hate me if I really put my 5th. If I really say number 5.
Eric, Gary Scelzi.
Gary Scelzi, that's another one. Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah.
Yes. Man.
It becomes so debatable because you think like Dixon has 3, Scelzi has 3.
I mean, look, I understand arguably maybe not known as well, because I mean, certainly known as well, but I mean, we haven't thrown out Dick LaHaye as a driver and a championship and the program that what he got there later on helps an individual such as a Larry Dixon.
Yeah, 1987 Top Fuel champion, Dick LaHaye, obviously one of the best tuners also. Dan Baker says Corey Mack. I can't, the U.S. Nationals wins are there, but the championship's not there. So I can't, I hate to say that because Corey Mack's one of my favorite drivers, but I can't put him top 5.
Yeah, John. Thank you, John. Gary Beck. I mean, there's some other names right there. Yeah.
Oh, mentioning Gary Beck, and it's kind of cool that we have Tony Schumacher here in the comments. You know, Gary Beck almost pulled off the run 25 years before Tony Schumacher pulled off the run. He just didn't set the speed record. He set the national record in the final at Orange County, but he needs the speed record too to get the points to win the championship. Like we almost saw the run 25 years before the run.
And that's the one I believe you're referring to. Shirley's third championship at Ontario?
I think this was the year after. I think this was 1981. I think it may have been. Yeah, this is I think he was trying to chase down Jeb Allen, I believe.
Okay.
And he set the national record in the final, but he needs the speed record for the extra points. If he would have set the speed record, he would have won the championship. So, that was a pretty amazing moment. And you got Salisbury blowing up in the final of the lane. He's blowing up. Gary Jones and Dwight Salisbury's on fire. It's pretty funny. Yeah. You really still want my fifth, huh?
I think, yeah. I think so.
Okay. I've said 4. What are your 4 then? And then we'll all do 5.
I already said my 4.
Say it again.
I agree with you. Tony Schumacher.
We have
to agree with him now. He's in the comment section. Like we got to stay on that. Tony Schumacher, Don Garlits, Larry Dixon, Shirley Muldowney.
Larry Dixon. So I got Don Garlits, Tony Schumacher, Larry Dixon, Joe Amato.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take the easy route. I'm gonna give Joe Amato that 5th spot.
Give Joe Amato top 5.
Yes. So yes, Doug Collette is not in my top 5.
My number 5. I originally was gonna go with the Wild Thing, but I'm gonna go with another 3-time world champion in the NHRA. Miss Shirley Muldowney is my 5th.
There we go. We got it.
That's my number 5.
We got it.
That's my number 5.
Now, how much more does it take for Doug to get on our top 5s?
A few more championships.
Okay.
I think so. Like I said, driving ability, I mean, you can't deny it. You can't deny it. You can't deny it.
I think that's the reason why for so long we've been like, is this going to happen? Mm-hmm. And when is it going to happen? And it was a matter of when, like it almost has to, because the driving ability, Doug's always had that. I mean, with his driving ability, he really kind of opened the eyes of the drag racing world at the time when he came on the scene early on. And I think a lot of what you see modern day top fuel drivers doing, or what is expected, he kind of set that bar to some extent.
Yeah.
When he came in with the driving ability and his background from open wheel, and he was a individual that was cutting lights and still does, frankly, I think that was the precursor of what a driver in a top fuel car needed to do. Mm-hmm. And now we see the Sean Langdons, the Justin Ashleys, and dare I say, I think we're going to be saying it about Tony Stewart as well, because I know plenty in the alcohol ranks that they're like, he's one of the best natural drivers we've ever seen. And he's got one of the quickest pedals I've ever seen.
Yes. You talk about Doug Collette, car control, knows how to pedal a race car. Reaction times. Keep it in the groove. Like Doug Collette, he's one of the baddest out there. And I like Eric's comment. Daryl Gwynn too. Daryl Gwynn was destined to be a world champion. 18 national event wins in his short career. Like Daryl Gwynn was on his way if he didn't have the crash. So he's definitely in that conversation as well. And obviously,
as Ken Capps even mentions, and I think you have to throw it in with Daryl Gwynn too. Daryl Gwynn, Blaine Johnson, they may be two of the great what if stories the sport has.
Sure.
Period.
For sure. And of course, these lists are all subjective too. So we're just having fun. They're all interchangeable. So
that's right.
Except
any top 5 with top fuel has to have Tony Schumacher and Don
Garlits. Yeah.
You can start the pecking order elsewhere, but has to.
No, for sure.
I even dare say top 3. You already got your 2. It's Tony Schumacher and Don Garlits.
And when we go funny car, it's John, Kenny, Perdome, Capps, Raymond Beadle.
Oh, Raymond Beadle. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Again, with any list of funny car, yes, you have to have John Force. There's no way around that. Mm-hmm. I certainly agree. Kenny Bernstein. I mean, man, what he did in the 80s, my goodness. I agree with that. And
gotta have Prudhomme too. Gotta have him.
You have to have Prudhomme. You have to have Prudhomme. Remember, Top Fuel experience too, though.
That is true. Before the funny car, yeah, Top Fuel, funny car,
and then even end of his career, So I mean, established his name, you could say, even there, but certainly on, doing even more. Eric mentions Billy Meyer. I think that's a great mention.
That's another good one. Yeah.
I don't know if top 5 worthy, but in my mind, when I think great funny car drivers, I think Mark Oswald.
That's a good one. Yes, that's a good one.
And Top Fuel experience there as well.
Oh,
and definitely was renowned in Top Fuel. John, Kenny, Don. I agree with you on Caps.
Okay.
I'm surprised you're missing him. And
I
want to throw in some more, like a Raymond Beadle. I want to throw in like a Mark Oswald, something a little bit older, if you will. I don't mean that in any disrespect, but of that period of the sport. I'm even trying to think further when Funny Car was in its inception, but there were a lot of people that, they were in a car, they were out of car type of scenario. I mean, we haven't mentioned Frank Hawley and
that's another good one. Yeah.
Frank.
Frank.
Don, Robert Hight, I think.
I was going to go with Hight, but I was like, I want to mix it up a little bit. Little old, little new. So I put Beadle. So I want to put Hight. Yeah.
Like, we have talked about it. So many times on this show, off the scene. We wish it was played up. I wish Ron and Robert would lean into it. We are seeing right now the duking out of 2 of the greatest ever in funny car in drag racing at this time.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. It's and that's literally what we've seen the past couple of years. Add Hagen in there. It's been Hagen, Hight, and Caps. I mean, and you talk about Hagen, Hight and Caps. They're what, 2 and 3 on the all-time wins list of Nitro Funny Car. I mean, it's just you talk about the championships and the wins. It's like their careers just kind of parallel themselves so much, and so definitely it's and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to start anything, but didn't they kind of have like a little back and forth before the season started or something like that about the championship deal, about when Caps was like he's had to he's lost the championship in certain ways, and was that a response to Hight? I'm not sure. That's what I don't want to.
I think there might have been a little bit of something there.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't recall exactly because we're talking about the beginning of 2023, right?
Yeah, beginning of 2023. Yeah.
I think we did talk about that. I think we even talked about it with Ron was on, if I remember correctly, and mentioned it briefly. But no, I look, we're getting some spectacular drag racing right now. And look, there's people racing right now that they continue to win. They can continue to get championships, and we're going to be putting them on top 5 lists like a Matt Hagen.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And Eric says Al Hoffman, another great choice. It's unfortunately just in my opinion.
The best hair, top 5 list, number 1 best hair of any funny car driver. How does he pull his helmet off and the hair still be? I've asked Wayne. I'm like, Wayne, what was Pop's trick? What was Dad's trick? And again, by the way, Wayne Hoffman, that is going to be a sick looking funny car in the funny car chaos scene. Like, I want an excuse to go interview him at every race now.
It is. That's gonna be a really beautiful. I've seen it, of course. The pictures of that Western Auto funny car. It's gonna look beautiful. And maybe next year he does a blown drive services funny car, a BDS.
He's kind of rolling through them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that'll be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. It would be.
We really went a lot of different routes right there. That was man.
Good
conversation though. Yeah, good conversation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like the compromise. I put Amato on my list. You put Shirley on your list. I like that.
I like. It's funny when we talked about this off air. I was like, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna really crunch the numbers. I'm gonna come up with a top 5. I totally forgot. And so I literally was on the top of my head right now. I was like, so yeah.
Hey, we got Trevor Larkin chiming in, driver in the A Fuel ranks, going to be in a new ride this coming season with Chesley Motorsports.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Trevor Larkin in the comments, and appreciate everybody. I mean, this was a pretty big show. We had a pretty big live audience here tonight. I really appreciate you guys all tuning in.
That was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I appreciate that, everybody. Thank you for tuning in tonight. It's awesome.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Well, Darren, look, until next time, anything else?
No, I mean, I think just one last thing to kind of talk about is Skag is stepping up their deal in the NHRA for 2024. Obviously, they're now a factory team, I think what NHRA is calling it. I believe they bought, the Justin Ashley Maynard team. And of course, Tim Wilkerson is still under that umbrella. Obviously, they still have their relationship with Skag. And man, they're really stepping up their presence in NHRA, and I think it's pretty cool. And we've seen this before with Team Castro back in the day, and so this isn't anything new. But Skag is they're pretty pumped about NHRA drag racing. So it's awesome.
They are, and certainly thank you, Skag, for your investments. And this is an interesting.
Dave Richards as well. Yeah, Dave Richards.
Yes, I was about to say, because what I want to say is I think who wins the most out of this. It's Dave Richards. It's Paul Richards Racing now under that umbrella, and they definitely need it after what happened at Texas to get ready for the pro shootout.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's really cool for Dave Richards. Full-time deal with Versatran as their sponsor. So great to see him back on the tour full-time. And like you said, after that, that crazy deal that happened at the Texas Motorplex, great to see him out there on a full-time basis here in 2024, and another car out there that can compete for the countdown to the championship. I think that's awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, I think we definitely can dive into that deeper next episode. We still got some time to talk about that. And I know, we talked about it off air. Mr. Beard asked our thoughts on the pro shootout. And I'm sure as we get closer and closer to that event, we're going to continue to be talking about that, even probably have some personalities on in particular with that event as we are nearing the burning of Nitro. What off season is there? You go up to McKinney Corp right now, it's get it done season. That's what's happening.
Well, it is, but all of us in Southern California, we're crying because we'll be a few weeks away from saying, hey, it's time for Southern California, snow-capped mountains and the smell of nitro. Talking about Pomona, but of course they want to start the season in Gainesville. So okay, whatever. Whatever. So we can wait till March, but we have the Pro Superstar shoot on Braderton, but Pomona is the true start of NHRA drag racing and always will be. I'll drop the mic right there. I'm playing. I'm joking.
But it was not the first Winter Nationals.
Well, do we have to go down that rabbit hole right now?
I'm just saying. Just saying. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button and hit the share button for us. Come back and join us 9 p.m. Eastern time right here on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X, the website, CompetitionPlus.com. I'm Lee Kraft. Over there, Darren Williams Jr.
Good night, everybody.